Hello, welcome to the fourth program in the Art in Arlington series. This program is on the Arlington Children's Theatre. The Arlington Children's Theatre has been a part of the community since 1991, and at this point they are putting on several plays per year. In this program, we're going to meet with the artistic director, two of the child actors, and one of the supporting parents. And when you hear what they have to say, I think you'll understand why it is that they're able to do such superb work. And if nothing else, I hope it inspires you to go and see some of their many upcoming productions. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy. So Matt, thank you very much for doing this interview with me, and I'd like to learn some of the history about the Arlington Children Theatre.
Oh, sure. So currently, Arlington Children's Theatre, we're in our 25th year. It was started in 1991 by a group of parents who were looking for an affordable educational theater program for their kids. And through the years, it's grown. We used to be sort of we would just kind of like move around from space to space until we finally decided to rent something here at the Arlington Center for the Arts. So now, 25 years later, we produce 9 to 11 productions a year. We work with kids ages 7 to 18, probably over the course of a year up to like 400 kids, maybe more. We have camps. We produce three main musicals a year, as well as Shakespeare. And one of the really cool things about Arlington Children's Theatre is, aside from artistic staff, it's an all-volunteer organization. So parents, families, friends all help out with shows. It's not just the kids up on stage. Their parents are working just as hard, sort of all around them to put a show on and to make everything come together. So yeah, we've been around for quite some time. And hopefully, as we keep going with our 25th year and head on into 25 more, we're getting bigger and bigger, and growing more in the community. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, sure. So you had mentioned how long you had been with the organization?
I've been with ACT as the artistic director for, I'm in my 4th year. But I've been with the organization for about 10. I started just stage managing a couple shows here and there. Then I started directing. I was on the board for a bit. And then when our previous artistic director, she took another job, I came on as artistic director. So I've been in this position for about 4 years.
I see. So you say you've directed how many shows?
I've probably directed 3 or 4 shows a year for at least for the last 5 years.
I see.
Shows like Romeo and Juliet, Taming of the Shrew, The Sound of Music, Hairspray. We just finished a production of Legally Blonde, the musical. That just wrapped up about 3 weeks ago. Also smaller shows like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So yeah, I've done probably 3 to 4 shows a year.
I see. So at the risk of asking you to tell me who your favorite child is, what would you say are some of your favorite shows that you directed?
I love directing Shakespeare, and I actually took this year off from directing Shakespeare, sort of as like a creative reset almost, because Shakespeare allows you to just kind of go and think outside of the box. So one of my favorites that I did was Taming of the Shrew. We set it in a 1940s nightclub. So some of the actors would sing. There were a couple dance numbers. And then we set, last year I directed Richard III, and we set that, the set was sort of in a, kind of like a war-torn church. So there was like a tipped over cross, there was like a warped window, dead flowers. So, and then going from there, it's a totally different, almost like a different experience directing a musical, like Legally Blonde or Hairspray, because then you have to incorporate music as well as choreography, as well as the band, and there are just so many components in it. So that's what's great about ACT is we kind of go from these huge musicals, and then we can go right into like a smaller Shakespeare production, or something we've done Roald Dahl plays like the BFG and Witches, and we've done very serious plays. I directed the Laramie Project, probably I think it's like 5 years now, which is a pretty heavy topic.
Yeah, pretty dark.
So, and those were that was for teenage actors, but I think what's really great is we can do some really educational pieces and things that have to do with the world and the world today and what's happening in outside these doors. But we can also do something really fun, like Legally Blonde.
Right. So do you find that you have greater range or liberty of things that you can put on, being separate from schools? Because I mean, of course, there are high school plays, and so what I'm getting at is when I watched the rehearsal of Legally Blonde, I thought that some of a little bit of the stuff was a little risque, and so I get the impression sometimes that maybe schools have become a bit more conservative in terms of what they are really willing to risk in terms of putting on productions. My perception could be completely wrong, but so that's why I asked the question: do you feel that you have more range, than high school productions?
I do. I think we have a little more freedom. And in school, it's difficult. You have to, you have to make sure you're following certain guidelines that are either set by the school or the town, follow a curriculum. So yeah, I think we have a little more freedom to do shows like the Laramie Project, or you say Legally Blonde. There are a few things in there that I guess could be considered risque. I think from the rehearsal you saw, though, until when we opened, even at that point, I changed a few things, just like a couple words here and there, to make it a little less risque, because I do understand that this is a children's theater, and there is a balance of, especially when you have a cast of all ages, there's definitely a balance that you have to find between education, entertainment, appropriateness, and a lot of things play into that. So even here, outside of the school system, I work with a lot of people to make sure that, especially if we're working with an all ages cast, that it is appropriate for everybody. I think I know some high schools have done certain productions, like the Laramie Project that keeps coming back. Even shows like Rent, Cabaret. We've done those shows. We've done school versions of them. Avenue Q.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, we did the school edition of Avenue Q. So there are ways that you can get the school edition.
Right.
And I think high schools, I don't know if they're becoming more conservative, because I can kind of see sometimes, I guess it depends on the group.
Right. Well, it depends on the adults, I find, because
Yeah.
it's not like the kids don't know
Yeah.
what's going on. I mean, we know what it was like.
Yeah.
So really, you're just kind of, keeping the parents calm down, and so they can believe that their little babies are still very innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where the balance comes in, and that's tough because I'm not a parent and I'm not the kid's parent. So I do understand that for certain shows, there can be some apprehension, especially from the parents. I think if you can have an intelligent conversation about themes in these productions and what these shows represent, if you can have an intelligent conversation with the parents, but also with the kids, and I understand that these kids are really smart, and I try to treat them that way, that we can have this conversation and this dialogue about certain topics. So I think if you can do that, then everyone, I think, could get on board.
Right, I hear you. So, so are there other groups like this in other towns in the state or around the country?
There are hundreds of children's theaters
Okay.
in Massachusetts.
All right.
Some that come to mind, just within this area, Watertown Children's Theater. They do a lot of good stuff. Wheelock Family Theater. There's also, which has the same acronym as we do, Acton Children's Theater, Concord Youth Theater.
Right.
So there are lots of groups. Boston Children's Theater, they just did a production of Fancy Nancy at the Regent Theater, I think about a week before we went in to do Legally Blonde.
Right.
So,
So do groups like this, do they fill a void that is not, do they fill a void in the high school, middle school curriculum, or are they supplemental to what's there?
I guess it could depend on the city and the town, how much of an arts program is offered in the school system.
Right.
I think if a town has a thriving arts program and they have a thriving theater program, like Arlington High School has a great theater program. They just did a production of Hello Dolly,
Right.
and I've gone to see a lot of their productions, and I think here in Arlington, we might maybe fill, I mean, they have a good program, so I don't necessarily think maybe we're not filling a void, but maybe we're doing something a little outside the box that the
Right.
kids are attracted to.
I got you. So do you have kids from the high school here, and they're doing both, perhaps, plays here and plays there?
Yeah, we had kids who were rehearsing Legally Blonde and Hello Dolly. They would leave their Hello Dolly rehearsal and come here.
Well, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, then they do a whole weekend of performances of Legally Blonde, and then they're still doing rehearsals for Hello Dolly, and then another whole weekend of performances. And then we have kids that just finished Hello Dolly that are now in our Shakespeare production.
Oh.
So yeah, we have a lot of overlap, and it's the same, like we have kids from Lexington, Belmont, Cambridge, Somerville, Winchester, that they do the same thing. They do their school shows and they do ACT shows. I think because they really love theater.
So do you know of any kids who have been in this program that have gone on to do other things, theater related? And that brings me to the other thing that I was wondering. So how do kids get involved here? What's the age range? And then you kind of hinted that maybe once they age out of being on the stage, maybe there are roles that they can play.
Yeah, we have alumni that come back to do things. Most of the staff for our upcoming summer musicals were former ACT actors. So they're doing stage management, assistant directing. We have kids that come back to direct. So our camps start at age 6, and those go to ages 6 to 12. Our musicals and straight play productions start at age 7. And so our winter musical is an all ages cast. That's ages 7 to 18. Then we have throughout the year plays for the younger group, and then we have plays for the older group. And really the easiest way to get involved is just check out our website, because we basically finish one show and we start another. So Legally Blonde ended, like I said, the last performance was March 20th. On March 22nd, we started auditions for Shakespeare and for Little Women. So there's not much of a break when it comes to what we're doing. Next week we have April Vacation Camp. Then Little Women ends May 22nd. On, I think, the week before Memorial Day, we start auditions for our summer musicals. So anyone really has to do is register for something.
Right.
We will take everybody as long as we have space. We don't audition out, so we don't have the kids audition and then say, no, you can't be in this production. So
That's good.
yeah, so as long as we have room, we'll take everybody.
Right. That's good. No, that really, I think, encourages people to try.
Yeah. And I think we really, at least I try my hardest to make even the audition process sort of stress-free.
Right.
Even the rehearsals are, there's a job to be done.
Right.
There's an end product. But because we work with kids with different levels of experience, no experience, we understand that this is also fun.
Right.
And I definitely want the kids to leave a rehearsal and leave a production feeling like they had like a good time. They learned something, but also like, oh, I hung out with my friends, I had a good time, it was really fun.
Right,
I
sure.
think sometimes like theater can be very like, gotta
Regimented.
get this done.
Yeah.
And you have to get it done, but you can do that and make everybody feel like they've been a part of something.
Right. Well, I mean, I have realized, especially by doing these segments, and participating or attending some of the open studios here, that Arlington is very supportive of the artistic community, and I get the vibe that they are very supportive of your group.
Oh yeah.
But let's say you could do whatever you wanted, or the town had unlimited resources, what else would you like to have?
What else would I like to have?
Yeah. For ACT.
Oh God. Well, I mean, there's a whole thing going on now in town about space. Schools are expanding.
Right.
They're trying to find spots for everybody. I think in order for ACT to continue growing, and that doesn't necessarily mean more shows or even more kids, though that could come out of it. I think we might need, as I think a lot of artists in town do, just more space.
I got you.
Whether that's another performance space, like another option, or more rehearsal space. I think what I would like to see is sort of on any given night, we have a workshop going on as well as a rehearsal going on. and maybe like a meeting for something going on. But
Right.
when you're limited in where you can put everybody, it's tough to do that. So, but I don't think that's that's not an isolated case with ACT. That's, I think,
I understand.
I think anyone that's an artist and wants to grow and do more, I think they find that and with that comes like money,
Right.
of course.
Right. Well, one of the questions that's come to mind, you've been involved for a while, and the social media has taken over. Have you noticed any change in kids? I mean, as relates to wanting to do this, the way they participate in it, and
Like, has social media?
either made more kids want to do it, made fewer kids want to do it. When they're here, are they less engaged? Are they more distracted? Or I guess let me rephrase the question in a simpler way. Have you noticed any change in kids since you've been doing this?
I definitely think social media plays a more important role in the kids' lives. So at rehearsal, yeah, I see more electronic devices around. Occasionally, I'll say, okay, it's this scene, and I'm kind of like waiting for everybody, and I turn around and like people are like this. So I guess that's just the way we've evolved. It's tough to say to everybody, like, leave your phones outside.
Right.
Because they're such a part of everyone's life, like just to get a hold of somebody, and people will post things as we're having rehearsal, like on their Facebook page or on their Instagram or Snapchat something. And I don't know if that's a bad thing. I definitely think with social media, we can publicize everything a bit more.
Right.
We have a Facebook page, a Twitter account, Instagram. So I think having that is a good, especially for a small nonprofit.
Right.
It's a cheap and easy way to get
Right.
information out there.
But really what I'm getting at is that the impact of it on the kids themselves. So for instance, we have this notion that maybe there is more bullying now because kids can reach each other in that kind of non-physically violent way, but still emotionally violent way.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to get a sense of whether you're seeing,
It happens, yeah.
And
It does.
Go ahead.
And it's a hard conversation to have with a kid, because if you like, I'm old enough where social media wasn't around at rehearsals, and like I didn't have a computer in the house until late high school, like college even. So it's a weird conversation to have if that stuff comes up, because I've never been affected by it that way. So we're sort of going through things right now where we have to update some of our information to reflect like social media,
Right.
and its use here at ACT. It's definitely something that's happened. It's come up, but few and far between. It hasn't come up a lot.
Right.
I think we're pretty accepting here at ACT. We, like I said, we'll take everybody if space allows. So, and like I said, we're pretty nice. We're not a stress-filled environment. So I think a lot of our kids reflect that, and they are also willing to accept people into the group, so to speak, without question.
Right.
We've, over the last year, have had some like transgender actors with us. So that's also a different discussion that we haven't had to have in the years that I've been here. So those things come up, and I think because all of our parents and all of their kids are really willing to, I guess, for lack of a better term, just be nice to everybody. I think the social media bullying doesn't happen, or I haven't noticed it happen a lot. Has it? It's definitely come up a couple of times, but I guess not as much as you would think with having so many kids.
Right. Well, you mentioned that sometimes you have to have these discussions about bullying and whatnot. And do you have any other discussions with the kids in the process of rehearsing and putting on the play for because these plays deal with topics and sometimes the topics are pretty heavy. And do you all end up discussing those topics during rehearsal or?
Yeah, I don't brush over things. I know, like with Hairspray last year, and the reason that show was a choice was because of issues that came up in Ferguson and issues that have just come up a lot more. I had to have conversations with the cast about black versus white, race, and they had stories about their own lives. So it's not something that I would ever just say like, well, no, we're not going to talk about that. Legally Blonde, there were a couple of things about like sort of pop culture things that, like you had said earlier, may have been a little risque that I didn't talk about because I felt like they weren't worth the discussion, and it would just be like a line that the older kids understood, the younger kids didn't, and I didn't feel the need to sort of hang on the topic. But like Gloria Steinem comes up in Legally Blonde, and I asked the kids, do we know who this is? And a lot of the kids, some kids were like yes, some kids were like no. So I talked about Gloria Steinem for a bit and what she was a part of in the United States. And we talked a little bit about feminism. When we did the Laramie Project, we had days of talking about LGBT issues, Matthew Shepard, the whole thing. And kids would talk about their own experiences in school, being gay or gay friends. So, yeah, we do have those discussions.
All right. Well, thanks for having this discussion with me.
Sure.
And I appreciate all the time that you're willing to spend with me, and I wish you and ACT much success.
Oh, thanks.
Through the years.
Thanks for doing this.
Welcome.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was. So, thank you very much for joining me, Izzy. And so, how long have you been a part of ACT?
A while now. I think I started in like 5th grade, maybe. I can't really remember. So it's been about five or 6 years.
I see. So how many plays have you been involved in?
Oh, I can't even remember. I can't count at this point.
I see. Well, so can you tell me maybe some of your favorite plays?
The first show I did was Aladdin.
Okay.
That's one of my favorites because it was my first. And that was like really fun. I did it with my friend Laura. She's in the other room rehearsing. And then one of my most memorable was The Tempest.
Uh-huh.
I think that might have been my 3rd or 4th one. and that I really liked because I like first made friends in that one. I like hadn't really made friends within ACT, but that was the first show that I like got friends within my cast. Assassins, that happened I think 2 summers ago, and the cast was extremely close. And then American Idiot, a bunch of my friends were seniors, so it was like bittersweet watching them leave, but it was nice. So
I got it. And so, do you have any favorite roles so far that you've had?
I played Donkey in Shrek. That was my favorite one. So
I got it. And so how many more years do you think you're going to be part of ACT?
I think I have 2 left, my junior and senior year. So.
Okay. So do you do any plays outside of ACT?
I did the middle school ones, but I haven't really done. I think next year I'm going to do some of the high school shows, but mostly it's just with ACT. So.
I got it. So, I mean, what made you get interested in ACT in the first place?
Oh, that's actually a funny story. My friend, when I was in 4th grade or whatever it was, my friend Laura, I kept asking her to hang out, but she was telling me that she couldn't because she had to do a play, and she was doing it with this other girl, and I got really jealous that she was hanging out with her. And so I was like, when the play finished, I was like, oh, like I'm gonna get back at Laura, I'm gonna do a play, so then she has to hang out with me. But then I did it, and it turned out I really liked it, so it was good.
That's interesting. And that's interesting. And so, how do you feel that you've grown by being a part of ACT? Let me explain a little more what I'm getting at. And how do you feel that you've grown being a part of ACT that would have been different had you not been a part of it?
Well, I think it's a very community driven place, and I've like learned to like rely on people and like make friends a lot easier. It like brought out me socially. I was very social when I was in elementary school, but it like really brought out a new side of me, and I didn't know I even liked theater until I had joined ACT. I feel like if I hadn't, then there wouldn't be really like a solid thing that I liked doing, like that I thoroughly enjoyed. And I also want to like pursue theater and acting as like I get older and as a career. So I think it kind of like changed my life in a way being here.
Well, you just answered my next question. Now what am I gonna do? So we're back. And so you've been a part of it since 5th grade, about 5 years, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. And so how do you feel that things have changed over that period of time? And I was talking with Matt, and one of the things I was wondering about in discussion with him was how the kind of prominence of social media may have affected the way kids interact with each other, and maybe even their desire, to do things like this. I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, I think like the whole social media thing, I think part of it's good for ACT because it's a way to like have publicity and like get it like known out there. But I also think that social media in a way like puts a damper on kids because there's like the kind of stigma or like way of thinking that theater kids aren't very cool and we're not very good at sports, and like how like normally in high school like the kids that are good at sports like they're very popular and all of that, like it that's a little bit like goes into it. But also I think theater's like good because with social media there's the whole body image kind of thing, but when you're on stage you kind of like put on like a costume and you become a different person, and I think like it counteracts social media because it's a very, very like real experience. It's not anything on a screen. You're like interacting with other people and you're performing for an audience, and I think it's really good. So
I understand. So do you feel that with more social media around, more kids want to do theater or fewer, or is it pretty much the same?
I think it's pretty much the same.
I got you. Okay. What challenges do you feel that being a part of ACT has helped you overcome, and are there any other positive benefits that you can tell me that's been a part of being a part of ACT?
Well, definitely because it's such like a community place. Making friends is here so easy, and a bunch of kids here are very outgoing, and that's why they love being on stage. And I think, well, when I first did ACT was when I was in elementary school, but I didn't really do it like consistently. But when I did the Tempest, I was going through like some hard times. I was in middle school. I was in 7th grade when I did the Tempest, and like I was going through the normal like mean girl kind of bully kind of thing. And when I came here, it was like the first show that I made friends. And I think that ACT, like being here, it really helped me like gain self-confidence and realize that like no matter what, there's going to be a group of people that love me. So.
Right. So how have your parents helped or have your parents been a part of the ACT experience?
Yes, every ACT parent, they have to help out a little bit. But my dad, he, I don't know when he started helping out more, but he like started helping with publicity, I think during Scrooge it was, and he did a really good job with that. So then they like had him come back and he did publicity more, and eventually he got on the board and he produced Hairspray and American Idiot, and there might have been one more, but I can't really remember, and on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And he kind of like does things here and there, so I think our relationship really like grew while doing ACT, and we like talk about it at dinner and stuff, so it's nice having like that in common.
That's great. So it's a kind of a way for because the parents have to be involved, it almost necessitates, that they interact. Well, that's a nice little touch into ACT that I'm becoming more aware of. So, well, thank you very much for participating in the interview.
No problem.
And good luck with your hopeful, career in theater, and who knows, see you on Broadway or big screen sometime. And so, Harry, and how old are you?
10.
10. How long have you been a part of ACT?
About 2 years, I think.
I see. So how many plays have you been involved in?
This is my 8th.
Your 8th play?
8th.
Oh my goodness. I mean, so what are you working on now?
I'm working on Little Women.
I see. So what's your role in Little Women?
I am Mr. John Brooke.
I see. And so what was your first play?
My first play wasn't with ACT.
Okay.
My first play was actually The Wizard of Oz with ACA. My first play at ACT, that was Into the Woods.
I see. So then how long were you doing plays before you became part of ACT?
Only once. That was my only play without ACT.
I got you. So you already had the acting bug before you joined ACT?
Yeah, I only had one experience.
I see. So what made you interested in acting?
My mom she said, you should do this, their ACA is doing The Wizard of Oz, so you should do it because it's my favorite play and I want to see you in it. So I just said, okay, and I was on stage.
And you enjoyed it, apparently?
I enjoyed it very much.
I got it.
And then I just did a play with ACT, and then I just kept doing plays because I really liked it.
I see. And so how many of the kids your age are part of ACT?
I'm not exactly sure because some of them leave and then some of them come back.
Right.
There's not many kids my age actually. Most of the kids I'm mostly friends with are like a year or 2 older than me.
I got it. And so do you like that dynamic of having kids of all ages
Mixed
around?
ages, yes, I do like that a lot.
I got it. And so you learn more from them than, well, let me rephrase this. I mean, what do you feel that you learn at ACT that you don't learn in school?
I learned how to speak on stage. I learned just basically skills for life almost. I'm able to talk in front of big, large crowds of people, and I make more friends, and it's just I just have a great experience.
So that's interesting. You say that you can talk in front of groups of people, because that's really interesting. Because sometimes you get the feeling, that when people act on stage, they are fine doing that because they aren't themselves. But you're saying that you are taking the ability to perform on stage, and if someone were to say, well, I want you to give a speech on this topic that you care about, you would be fine getting in front
I
of
would be fine doing that.
Interesting. That's cool. Because it seems like I guess no one had to really twist your arm to do this interview, right?
No.
Oh, yeah. And so my understanding is that your parents are also involved in this.
My mom is mostly involved with it.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I have a little brother, so my dad just usually stays home with them. So.
I got it. I understand. And is it? Do you find it easier or harder to act in front of your parents?
Well, I find it easy to act just in front of my mom, but I feel like I can't act in front of my dad, my mom, and my little brother all together at once because I don't know.
Yeah, no, the reason I asked that is because I'm the same way. I can perform in front of strangers, no problem, but if there are relatives or people that care a lot about me in the audience, I have a hard time with that. And,
me too.
It's almost like I get anxious for them, like I'm thinking that they are anxious about how I'm doing, and then I get anxious, and it's just a mess. And so it seems as if I'm being selfish and not wanting them around, but it's more like I just relax a lot better. So that's interesting. So it's not just me. So what are your do you see yourself acting, later on in life?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna keep doing ACT until I get too old, and then I'm gonna keep working with ACT
I see.
as like directors and stuff.
I got it. And so you're headed into middle school now, or just
Yes,
about?
I'm heading into middle school.
And does your middle school put on plays? Do you know?
I'm not exactly sure. I've only been with them for a half a year, because I switched schools
I got it. So
in the middle of the year.
and I take it you live in Arlington.
No, I don't.
Oh, where do you live?
I live in Medford.
I see. Okay. So then it's not a requirement that a person be an Arlington citizen to be a part.
No, it's not.
Oh, that's cool.
Because some of my friends, they live in like Somerville and yeah.
No, that's great. I didn't realize that. I actually didn't ask the director that. So then, what are the requirements for participating?
You just have to be above 7.
Okay, and as long as you know about it, you come and you apply, they'll make room for you.
Yeah.
Great.
You only have to be 7, and then you can just apply and yeah.
I got it. So I wonder then, have you considered being a part of other children's theaters around town?
I would not consider that.
All right, and because Matt had told me that there's Watertown Children's Theater. So you said that in a very definite way. Why is that?
Because, I don't know, I think it'd be harder for me to adjust to that because I'm already adjusted to ACT.
I got it.
And ACT is just so awesome. I just love ACT.
Well, that is just a wonderful note on which to end the interview, and I love your confidence, and just confidence and enthusiasm in your point of view. So thank you very much. Stacy, how long have you been part of ACT?
Since 2003.
And why did you get involved?
My children used to act here, and I've stayed on just because I really enjoy the organization.
I see. So were you the inspiration for your children getting involved, or did they find out about it some other way?
Actually, my children are the ones that got involved. He's now a board member. His name is Josh Bell, did a play. My son went to see him in it, and they caught the acting bug, as I call it.
I see. And so are you all Arlington residents?
Yes.
I see. And did they act in other plays other than here?
Yes, they both went through Arlington High School and acted in plays at Arlington High School.
I see. So are they still involved in acting?
Yes, they are. They're still involved down here. My daughter's stage managed. Keith has produced plays. They both still come and volunteer when they can.
Right. Actually, what I was getting at, so do they do acting at other places now that they are apparently, that they've aged out of act?
No, they did during college when they went to Framingham State, but neither one of them have done anything recently.
I see. Okay. And so, what do you do with act now?
Right now, I rehearsal assist, which means while they're rehearsing, you keep the children quiet. If they're having trouble memorizing their lines, I help them do that. I also hand crochet or knit trinkets, which is a little remembrance of the show. If they need something typed up, I'll do that. I make phone calls sometimes, just a little bit of everything.
I got it. And so my understanding is that for each kid that's a part of ACT, one of the parents has to be involved. But how many parents are like you? Their kids are no longer a part of it, but they are still participating in the organization.
There's been one other mom who's done it, who does it infrequently, but she does come back when she can. So I could say I'm really the only one that's done it on a full-time basis.
I see. So you say full-time meaning?
Well, if you think about it, I'm here about 2 times a week for about 4 hours, and then as I said, I knit and crochet things for the show, so probably maybe about 12, 14 hours a week I spend.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. So dedication on your part, for sure. And so you've been involved since 2003.
Correct.
And this is something I asked Matt and Izzy. And you've been around enough now to see, social media play a big part in everyone's lives. Have you noticed any impact on the kids?
During rehearsals, we've quite frequently had to tell them, you need to put your phones away, you need to put a tablet away, you need to put your computer away. They have a tendency to miss their lines or miss their cues. So is it good and bad? As a parent who started out not knowing technology, yeah, it's great. But with me being here, and it's like, you're supposed to be on, you're missing your lines, the kids have had to extend what they had to say, they've had to, make excuses for you, they've had to run your lines sometimes, so it can be a bad thing.
I see. But in terms of the dynamic between kids, have you noticed any deleterious effects from it?
No. Actually, I think it makes it a lot easier for them. I think we're going to lose the writing aspect. I think maybe you may lose some phone etiquette too. But on the other hand, it's quicker, it's easier. I understand that too.
I understand. I got you. And so, what do you see as your future with ACT?
I'll probably stay here till I retire. I honestly don't know. I've been asked to go on the board. I don't want to go on the board. It's a bigger time commitment. I like doing what I'm doing. Next week, actually, there's a vacation camp, and I'm going to help Matt produce that at the Masonic Temple. So
I would imagine you've seen most of the plays since you've been involved?
Yes.
Okay. And so what are some of your favorites?
I really liked the Laramie Project. You're probably going to ask me why, because it was out of the box. It was something that I really believe in. One of my children is gay, so to me it was very important that we were able to do that show. Rent, just because I absolutely adore the music and the play itself. Some of the obscure ones are Rhinoceros, and I can't even begin to tell you what it's about, but just know that it was like one of those out-of-the-box kind of plays that we did. Legally Blonde that we just got through was absolutely incredible.
Right. So here's another question that
Sure.
I asked Matt, because you said that your kids also did plays at Arlington High. Do you feel that the plays that are done here are different in terms of the topics that they explore? Meaning that, do you feel that they have more liberty to do things that they might not do in high school because the subject matter is just a little bit too sensitive?
The Laramie Project is a perfect example. I can never ever see Arlington High School putting on the Laramie Project. I can't see them putting on a Rhinoceros that I mentioned. I think because Arlington High, when they put on their musicals, it started out as a Gilbert and Sullivan, because I was at Arlington High and I did the plays. And they don't have to be Gilbert and Sullivan plays anymore, but they used to have to be. I think because of the organization itself they're limited in what they can do.
I understand. And so, being an Arlington resident, you and perhaps have a little more sway in what happens, in town. And what do you think the town could do to be more supportive, to institutions like ACT?
For one thing, don't let this building that we're in right now be taken back over to be used as a school. I'm sorry, I feel very, very strongly about that. And the funny thing is, I went to junior high school here in this building many, many years ago. I know they may feel that they need it, but there's really not a lot of space in this town for us or the other people that are in this building to get moved to. That's about it. I strongly feel that there's got to be a way around it.
All right, but let's assume then that, the status quo remains. I mean, is there more that the town could do, or do you feel that it's doing as much as it can do?
I wish they'd publicize the arts more here at Arlington. I know that sometimes we've used the Arlington Town Hall. I wish it was more affordable to use Arlington Town Hall, I guess. I suppose we could probably use Arlington High School, but I don't know that we can.
Right, I understand. So then what would be a good way of publicizing what goes on here?
I think we use the internet very well here.
Yeah.
I know the Arlington Advocate has many times put our plays in, but there's been times that they haven't, just to get the word out in general, which now that we have the internet is much easier than it was in the past.
Right, right. I mean, have you considered maybe like putting A-frames out in Arlington Center, or in front of Town Hall or something like that?
You know what? I didn't think of that. If the town would let us, that's a great idea, Len.
All right.
Great
yeah.
idea.
And but I just mentioned it because there's so much that goes on, and it's hard to know about all that's going on in town. I mean, I'm amazed at the amount of things that are going on, and it's like, wow, that I had no idea that happened. And I mean, I walk around a lot, and so I tend to read A-frames if I see them. I also tend to read the banners, and so that's why that came to mind.
Arlington High School puts out their banner right outside of the high school windows, which is great. I don't know if you saw it. They did a little dolly.
Yeah.
That's an excellent way to advertise too. So yeah.
Right, right, and then certainly maybe just something, maybe even on the corner of Foster and Mass Ave.
Yes.
Because I do see a fair amount of foot traffic.
Yes.
And even car traffic in front at that intersection.
Yeah, if they'd let us right there by the gas station, sure, that's a great idea too.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess the Board of Selectmen would be the people to ask
True.
about that. So Stacy, you mentioned the Laramie Project was one of your favorite plays?
Correct.
That they put on here?
Yes.
And can you tell me more about why that's special for you?
The Laramie Project was very special to me. My daughter had you age out, so she had graduated out in June, so we put the play on in August of 2010, and I was going to leave, but they decided they were going to do the Laramie Project. And as I mentioned before, one of my children is gay, and it's a touchy subject. I understand that, the content of it and everything else. So they asked me if I would come back and especially help with that play. We did it with the kids from the ages of 13 to 18, and they were just insightful questions that I could help with because my child is gay, and it was really important. And then I decided, well, I can't leave now because whatever play, and I can't remember off the top of my head we were doing next, I really wanted to do that one. And it's been that way kind of all along. Even if we do a play I don't particularly like, the next one I really like, so I can't leave.
I see. And so when was that?
That was September of 2010.
September 2010.
Correct.
So you started in 2003.
Yes.
They do roughly
When
8 plays a year.
But when I first started, we were only doing 2 or 3.
Oh, I see.
So they do like 1 in the fall, the winter musical, and then 1 or 2 in the summer. So that's about 3 or 4 a year. It's in the last probably 5 years that we started to do as many as you said, 8 a year.
So then you're getting up there in terms of the number of plays that you've been
Correct.
involved in.
You are correct.
And you strike me as a numbers person. So how many have you done?
Henry right now, that with Henry IV is 96, and by the time we hit the end of the summer, I will make my 100th play with them when we
Nice.
put on Anything Goes and Guys and Dolls.
Anything goes in Guys and Dolls.
Yes.
Right? I mean, well, I hope they give some special commendation for you. I mean, at that play. I mean, so we'll have a talk with Matt about that. You know, and maybe I can get some video of that. You know, and add it. You know, to this segment because that's a big deal.
To me, yeah, I mean, and I didn't stay just to make my 100th play. I stayed, I really truly believe in this organization. I truly enjoy children, and they come back now that they've graduated. 2 of them have just gotten married, which was incredible. I never thought that I'd see the kids that when I first met them were like 7 and 8. They're married now. They don't have any kids of their own, but they are married, so yes.
Well, that's a sweet touch.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a very sweet touch. So, and I think that's a good touch on which to end the interview because he did kind of bring things full circle and you know they may very well have kids and they may very well be part of ACT because one way or another I get the feeling ACT's going to be around for a while. So thank you very much, Stacy.
Thank you, Len.